Honor everyone. Honor to everyone that's watching. Honor to you all. Before we start, let me just say that this is Dartman X TV. I am an Ahuak, American in colonial terms, what they called an Arawak American. With that being said, this platform does not advocate for any. Well, you already know what this platform don't advocate for. This platform don't advocate for bull doodle. Period. But anywho, let me just say peace, honor to everyone that's joining, honor to everyone that's joining the chat, honor to you all. Welcome everyone. You all are doing well. Hope your day is going well. Hope your loved ones are doing well. Um, and I just hope everyone is well. Uh, and again, I'd just like to thank everyone that's been going through it with me, and everyone that has been supporting the platform. Everyone that has donated to the platform. I thank you all. Uh, and just much love to you guys. Right now, we know some of us has common sense, right? Some of us have common sense. I would like to think all of us do, but I'm starting to think that not everyone has it, or for some it's just it's a turtle speed, and for some it's a rabbit speed. You know, but we live in the age today where technology is all around you, information is all around you. There shouldn't be any excuse for anyone not to have certain information at the tip of their fingers, right? Like I went to go look up something just now for you guys, and just by chance came across the 1866 Civil Rights Act, and was doing a little refresher on it just now, right? Then I went on the Library of Congress to go look for what I was trying to look for, and by chance came across something else. Let me get the name of what I came across here for the Civil Rights Act. It's called S 35, the way of the coronavirus. All right. Before we get into that bill, let me get into this first with you guys. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to give you guys the link. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Civil Rights Act of 1866. This is a breakdown of it. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 declared all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without this distinction of race or color or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. Although President Andrew Johnson vetoed the legislation, the veto was overturned by the 39th United States Congress, and the bill became law. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was the nation's first civil rights law. Here's some background. President Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Abraham Lincoln upon his assassination in April 1865, favored a lenient approach to Reconstruction in the wake of the Civil War. In order to re enter the Union, former Confederate states were required to maintain abolition, swear loyalty to the United States, and pay their war debts. Few additional restrictions were put in place, which enabled the Southern states to adopt and enact a series of so called black codes. These laws were designed to restrict freed blacks' activity and ensure their availability as a labor force. Although these codes permitted certain liberties, they largely denied black citizens equal protection under the law. Notably, these codes restrict property, contract, and labor rights for black citizens. Republican lawmakers in the United States Congress, who believed the federal government had a role in shaping a multiracial society in the post war South, opposed Johnson's plan for Reconstruction and sought a different approach. Legislative history. Senator Lyman Trumbull, Republican of Illinois, introduced the bill in the United States Senate on January 5th, 1866. On February 2nd, 1866, the Senate voted to approve the bill 33 to 12. On March 13th, 1866, the United States House of Representatives approved the legislation by a vote of 111 to 38, with 34 members not voting. Representative William Lawrence, Republican, Ohio, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, said the following in support of the act. There are certain obsolete rights which pertain to every citizen, which are inherent, and of which a state cannot constitutionally deprive him. I want you to pay attention. But not only are those rights inherent and indestructible, but the means whereby they may be possessed and enjoyed are equally so. Every citizen, therefore, has the absolute right to live, the right of personal security, personal liberty, and the right to acquire and enjoy property. These are rights of citizenship. As necessary incidents of these rights, they are others as the right to make and enforce contracts. Pay attention. To purchase, hold, and enjoy property, and to share the benefit of laws for the security of person and property. Representative William Lawrence, on March 27th, 1866, President Andrew Johnson vetoed the Civil Rights Act. Johnson wrote the following in his veto statement. In all our history, in all our experience as a people living on the federal and state law, no such system No such no such system has that contemplated by the details of this bill has ever before been proposed or adopted. They established they established for the security of the colored race safeguards which go indefinitely beyond any that the general government has ever provided for the white race. In fact, the distinction of race and color is by the bill made to operate in favor of the colored against the white race. That's ignorance. They interfere with the municipal legislation of the states with relations existing exclusively between a state and its citizens, or between inhabitants of the same state, and absorption and assumption of power by the general government, which, if acquiesced, I'm going to say it again, if acquiesced in, must sap and destroy our federative system of limited power and break down the barriers which preserve the rights of the states. President Andrew Johnson. On April 6, 1866, the Senate voted 33 to 15 to override Johnson's veto. Good on you. The House followed suit on April 9th, 1866, by vote of 122 to 41, with 21 members not voting. As a result, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 became law. Let's keep going. Key features. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 is notable for being the nation's first civil rights law. The act established that all male persons born in the United States, regardless of race, color, or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude, were entitled to basic rights of citizenship in every state and territory in the United States. The law further declared that all such individuals were entitled to the following specific rights: to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, and give evidence in court, to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property. Pay attention to those terms, right? To full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of person and property, as is enjoyed by white citizens, and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, and penalties, and to none other. The law also provide for the conviction and punishment of individuals who violate the law. Later developments. The Civil Rights of 1866 did not address political rights. There's a reason, though, which include the right to vote and the right to hold public office. The 15th Amendment of the United States Constitution, ratified in February 1870, guaranteed to all United States citizens the right to vote regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Even so, according to the National Constitution Center, the 15th Amendment had little impact for almost a century because states opposed poll taxes, literacy tests, and other restrictions that kept African Americans from voting. Subsequent legislative actions in the 20th century, including the Civil Rights Act of 1864 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, were taken to address this problem. Honor to everyone that's joining. Honor to everyone that's in the chat. Copper Hotstep, Sister Cherokee Tolu, Clarence Beaver, Marcus Exera, Joe Marr, Renzo Duckworth, Mr. TJ. Honor to you all. Honor. I think IMQ was in there too. Honor to you too, brother. All right. So if anyone don't get what I just read, right, I'm gonna go over it and break down parts of it to you guys. Okay. Let's go back over it. Look, the federal government passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Okay, when Dr. King marched, when Dr. King marched, I'm gonna show you something. The reason why it says all men, all 1866, all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without distinction of color or race or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. What you thought slavery was, the slave story that they told you of millions of people coming over on a slave boat, was not true. You notice they said, or involuntary servitude. Okay. Yes, there were prisoners of war. Okay. They were prisoners of war. Meaning, when the colonizers came here and we fought with the colonizers, they became prisoners of war. But there wasn't just prisoners of war for the colonial forces that were here. They were other forces that came here before certain colonial forces that mixed in with each other. Okay? These are when they say all skin folk ain't kinfolk, okay? And these folks came out looking like some of us. These folks teamed with the colonial forces that we were taught about, Caucasians, right? That we were wrongfully taught about when they said Caucasians came and invaded us, and our first invaders were Negroes, other Negroes from the East. Okay, we are the West, they are the East. That's how they know it as today. Whatever. They teamed up, and when they teamed up, they conquered us. Then we had certain tribes that sold out other tribes. Okay, about five to seven tribes that sold out other tribes. And along with the colonial forces, those tribes during wartime kept other tribes as prisoners of war or wiped them out. After those days were dying down, a legal system was created to where if you committed a crime, you were sentenced to what is called involuntary servitude, meaning you were to be an indentured servant for an X amount of years, however time you were sentenced for. Okay? This is why the chains, the shackles and the chains, because you were a prisoner. Prisoners wear shackles and chains. Now, if you were doing business with someone and you couldn't pay them during the business, then you would volunteer for servitude, meaning you would volunteer to be that person's indentured servant, okay? For however long it took to pay off that debt. That's why it says here in the Civil Rights Act of 1866 declared all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without distinction, race, or color, or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. For the slaves, the full on out slaves were the prisoners of war. Okay? The involuntary servitude were folks that were sentenced, that committed a crime or were sentenced to servitude. All right? And folks that owed a debt but couldn't pay it back. Okay? That was slavery overall. And the reason why it says all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without distinction of race or color, that's because all ethnic groups that was on this soil had ancestors who were slaves. That goes for Caucasian folks. That goes for the Chinaman. Had ancestors who were slaves, meaning ancestors who were prisoners of war, ancestors who were sold into servitude, into slavery. Oh, that's also another form of slavery, right? Human trafficking. Now, the majority of the ones that were sold into servitude and brought to the Americas were Caucasians. Okay, it didn't make no sense for them to bring no African Negro over here because they already had Negroes over here, the original American Indian. All right, now to show you something that when it's talking about contracts, that you have the right to contract or not to contract. When the male born in the United States, right? It says Civil Rights Act of 1866 declared all male persons born in the United States to be citizens. You, that male, probably unknown to him, if you had kept your nationality and kept to whom you are, they were supposed to go back and correct the record that you don't want to be a citizen of the United States. Now that will put you outside of the jurisdiction of the United States and all states which are subsidiaries of the United States Incorporated. Okay, you will be outside of their jurisdiction because you will be a national. All right, but when you participated in states' affairs and states' business and kept the state title that the state gave you, then you were under the jurisdiction of the states. But they put in forth certain acts to protect that you are not taken advantage of by your local leaders, i.e., governors and mayors. Okay? Which is why it says, without distinction of race or color or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. Okay? Now, what was Andrew Johnson? Was Andrew Johnson a Democrat or a Republican? That part, let me go check that out right now. I'm gonna check it out. Let's check it out. All right. Let me Google it. If anyone in the chat knows if he was a Democrat or Republican, put it if you could put it for me and let me know. Okay. Is anyone? Let me see. Let me see if I got it. He was a Democrat, right? Okay. Thank you, Q. Thank you. And I just pulled it up too. You're right. All right. People want to know where am I going with this? The Democratic Party created the KKK. The Democratic Party were the ones that was behind and invested into the whole eugenics thing. This is for all the folks out there. Yes, two wings on the same bird, of course, no doubt about it. Definitely no doubt about it. But do you know why it says two wings on the same bird? Because at first it was called Democratic Republic or Democratic Republican, and they split, right? Two wings on the same bird, but they're still not on the same side. They're on opposite sides. Okay, they split. One side means to wipe out whom they call the Negro race by any means necessary. Whatever it is that they do, they have to keep you involved. Okay? The other side put up contingencies to keep that side in check, to make sure that you were protected. Okay? Shocking to know, it was pretty much more so the Republican side. Why is that? Because the Republican Party at one point was damn near 100% Negro. A lot of the faces that they portray and paint to you with Caucasian faces. To tell you that these senators were Caucasian, they were not. They were Negro. Okay? Then somehow the Democratic Party infiltrated and got the Negro to become Democrats. And that will go back to the via the creation of the Prince Hall, Masonic lodges, lodge, so on and so. via the way of the Pan African creation of the Pan African movement, the Garvey and the UNIA, going back to Nation of Islam, right? Because they vote, okay? And it's so crazy because, like I said, I wasn't trying to look. This was what I was trying to look up. I was trying to look something else up, and this is what I came across. Okay, now it's let's read it over because I'm gonna read it over and break it down some more. Okay, and I want y'all to really grasp the full understanding. Race war is an illusion. Okay, the Prince Saul Masonic Society was put within our communities to keep us distracted and to keep us buying into certain mainstream orchestrated events such as race wars. 9 times out of 10, if you see someone film a white woman slapping a black male, what you call a black male, they're acting. It's put out there to keep this going because it's the biggest distraction there is. Okay? When you're looking at these television, you're literally being hypnotized and programmed from the flashing lights of the television and certain key phrases while your brain is absorbing the image, your ears is absorbing certain key phrases over and over. Black, 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 Pan African, Pan African, Pan African, black power, black power, black power. Okay? Then you're the white man, the white man, the white man. Damn cracker, damn cracker, damn cracker. White man, the white man, the white man. Racism, racism, racism. And you're looking at the flashing lights still. You're being programmed. Spell casting, exactly. It's like when Puerto Ricans is talking about puta, but puta comes from punta, which is a mosquito word. And they demonized it and say it's a curse because those are colonial forces also putting a curse on you, making you curse yourself by going against your ancestry. The female is always known to have been the nation. So when these bills were drafted up, the female couldn't be a citizen unless the female married a male that became a citizen or that was born into citizenship of the United States Incorporated. Then at the birth of their child, they had the right to declare if the child is going to stay with the nationality or if you're going to let them identify the child what they want to identify as. 9 times out of 10, they sort of let them identify the child what they wanted to identify the child as, and they identified the child as state property. But there were still provisions put in place to make sure that your child had equal opportunities. Now, when we tell you that every time a policy officer, 'cause police officers don't work for you, they work for the corporation. Your sheriff or constable works for you, okay? And the sheriff, through the way of you, has hiring power to hire deputies because you elected the sheriff. And if those deputies act up or get out of hand, that means it's the sheriff that's acting up. So the sheriff is solely responsible for them. So the sheriff is supposed to discipline them right away. I say that because people talk about defunding the police. You could do that, or you could punish the leaders who are supposed to punish these police officers when they act up, when they violate constitutional law or the 1866 Civil Rights Act. It says you have the right to contract or not. Every time an officer comes to you to give you a ticket, he's making an offer to contract. You have the right to turn it down. That's law. Every time your mayor says you need to wear a mask, he's giving you an offer to contract. contract. You have the right to turn it down. That's law. Every time he says shut down your businesses for these reasons, that's a business meeting right there. He's making an offer to contract. You have the right to turn it down. That's law. If that mayor, if that governor brings in the military or the military police force to come and shut you down, that's treason. Okay? He's outside of his capacity. This is why the federal government passed these acts. The federal government, with the Constitution, created what they created when the forefathers created the 1776. Their forefathers created that 1776 Constitution, Bill of Rights, Articles of Confederation. Those are all taken in on the federal level that they use to keep the states in check from abusing you, the citizens of the states. This is why you keep hearing governors like Cuomo and them talk bad about the federal government because they don't want to abide by the laws that are supposed to protect you, the citizens of the corporation. They violate them every day. Now, because you were taught by Boule agents in what they call the Negro community, they half-ass taught you, led you astray wrongfully. So you spent years in this research and these studies, studying everything away from what was directly in front of you, because that was their duty, that was their job. You cannot elect an official and put them in office and then become afraid of the person that you elected. More than half of you know what's going on is foolishness. You know that it's not true, but because you fear the retaliation from the very same person you hired to protect your interests. Do you feel how backwards that is? You hired your governors and your mayors to protect your interests, to make sure that you are not violated, to make sure you are not taken advantage of in any way, shape, form possible. And they turn around and order their policy officers to beat the shit out of you. You know this coronavirus, this COVID-19 is bull. You know anyone that has worked with masks. I've done auto body. I worked construction for a good amount of years. I've worked these things for a good amount of years. You know when you put on the mask, after a while it feels like you're suffocating. Then you know on the mask, on the boxes of the mask, it tells you that it causes respiratory issue and that you're not supposed to be wearing it for hours and hours on a time. It will make you sick. It weakens your immune system. Ask yourself this and tell me if I don't make any sense. I welcome it. I welcome you to tell me shut up, you don't make no sense. But ask yourself this, people, please. Tell me once have any of your governors and mayors, chiefs of police, elected officials, other than Trump, yeah? Well, on the state level, let's keep it on the state level. When has any of them, along with Dr. Fauci, to gave you any other remedy to boost your immune system so that you don't get sick from the supposed virus because they already predicted another outbreak coming in the fall? Have they ever suggested anything to you other than 6 feet apart, wear the mask? Oh, got to shut down businesses. Have they ever? This is how you know who's for you or who means you harm and who don't mean you harm. Did they give you any remedy to keep your immune system boosted? Because when you have a strong immune system, you can fight off anything. Did they? Did they? They didn't. Nothing. Only thing they've been doing has been violating the law. No, states don't have laws. Every state took an oath to the federal government. So all states, yeah, even though they have their governors and their mayors to manage themselves in certain times, when it comes to the rights of the people, of the citizens, they are supposed to abide by those laws, those constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Articles of Confederacy, the 1866 Civil Rights Act, all those passed by the federal government. They're supposed to abide by them because the federal government is the head of the corporation. So how does it look where I go and start a chain of restaurants and I'm the head office and I give the guidelines for all the other restaurants, and each restaurant decide to write their own specific guideline to ignore what the hell I put out there for all the restaurants? That's what each state is doing, because each state has imprisoned their citizens to be a workforce and just work, 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 and obey the state. It's not about defunding the police. It's about putting your state officials in check. It's about corrupted governors, corrupted mayors, corrupted police chiefs, corrupted sheriffs, corrupted councilmen. Your heads of state are the problem. And every time they tell you, well, we're going to write this policy, we're going to put forth this legislature. You don't need no more legislatures. You need them to start punishing. You need them to stop being biased. But they can't because they came into the game already corrupted. They're all a part of the same bar association. Not only that, they're all a part of the same secret organization. This is why you never get any real justice. They could arrest 100 officers today for years of abuse that they've been doing. They could fire how many police chiefs? I guarantee they done passed like 7 laws or 7 bills for the state that's going to put you in a worse hole. But they just gave you that just to shut you up because they studied you. This coronavirus thing was a human experiment to study the human behavior, to see where you are at now, today, 2020, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, to see if you are more now uniting with other ethnic groups as far as and understanding and ideology of just humanity being in peace or trying to live coherent with each other. This is why they push and push and push the racial disparities over and over, because that is what they use to mask what is really going on. Okay? Can I and Billy be friends? Yes, we can. Can you and Sasha, or what's a white girl name? Tiffany? Nah, Tiffany's Negro. What's a Caucasian girl name? Ashley. Can you and Ashley be friends? Well, my cousin is name is Ash. Anyway, can you and Ashley be friends? Yes, you can. We're all Earth brothers and sisters, but everyone secures certain things for their ethnicity, for their nation, for their nationality, for their bloodline. Your spiritual beliefs and practices, even with the voodoo, is not meant for them to see, because that's your protection against these corrupted state officials. Okay? This is why the ancestors kept certain things secret from the public. All right? That was just a side note. But understand, the state's job is to divide and rule. That's why throughout history, when you go and look back a lot of these documentations, you're going to see that the federal government has passed a lot of things to try to keep the states in check because they've been running rampant. And that's what you're seeing now today. Your president comes out and says, hydrochloroquine is what I'm taking. This is why I don't have the coronavirus. Hydrochloroquine is something proven worldwide to work for malaria and different strains of the coronavirus, of the human coronavirus. You made the CDC, who is buddy buddy with each state and state officials, along with the World Health Organization, which your president stopped funding because they were funding them over 400 million a year. So now that's 400 million that is coming back within your economy. No one thought about this. And you sat down and watched and listened to a governor after the World Health Organization plotted to come take your children out your house and force vaccinate your children. Literally told you this on national television. And your governor, Cuomo, then comes in a press conference and admits that they were fluffing the numbers of victims that died for the coronavirus with the hospitals. And then said, if you died of this here, then we'll just attribute it to the coronavirus. That means they made the whole thing up. Then he goes on to say to the folks out there, pretend that you are sick so that your friends could go to the testing sites and go get tested. And no one says anything. No one is questioning this man about it. That is violation of not only the 1866 Civil Rights Act, it is violation of the Constitution. It is in violation of the Articles of Confederacy. He is in violation of every law possible. All these governors are that went with this facade, this charade, this charade. Wake up. If you're going to play political, know how to play the game. If you're going to operate and move as a citizen, know the political system that you are playing in. Know that every time he opened his mouth, it was an offer to contract. But because they know that the police force, especially New York City police force, was trained to beat fire out of the people because they need to keep you in fear so that they could continue to extort your money every day. So you're not paying attention that, oh, this man is making an offer to contract, and oh, I'm going to turn down this contract. You became fearful. When an officer see you on the street, hey, you come here, and he went over to him, and you actually listened to him and went over to him, and he says, yo, what you got on you? You got anything on you? And you start talking to him. You offered to contract with him. Now, even if you didn't do anything, he says, well, here's a ticket for disorderly conduct. Here's a ticket for this. Here's a ticket for that. And you take that ticket and you sign it. You agreed to the contract that he offered to you. Now, if you don't want a contract, you will sign it, all rights reserved. Or if you don't want to agree to the contract, if you sign it, you know how to put brackets around it, meaning your signature is not really there. But you must know how to defend that. Or you slap an X on it and put brackets around the X. Or you write on the back of that ticket, if that officer swears by his oath with penalty of perjury and prosecution that what he is doing is lawful and that you violated and broke the law. He will never do it. You know why? Because of acts like this that I just wrote will put him away for 5 years because that he have committed perjury, lied. And then these acts that I just read the summary of to you is about upholding law, not color of law, but law. Now, when you go through your constitution, it says you have the right to travel freely from point A to point B through horse or carriage or buggy. Well, that's the Supreme Court ruling when they said through horse or carriage or buggy on the highways and byways. Meaning, pay attention. If you're not doing business, if you're not operating a cab, an Uber, a Lyft, a bus, a truck, a limo, a tourist company, if you're not doing any form of business, but you're just going from point A to point B, you want to go to your grandma's house, you want to go visit your mother, your aunt, spend time with your family members, you want to go up to another state, they're not supposed to be hitting you with poll taxes, meaning when you drive through those toll booths, that's poll taxing. They're not supposed to come and impede your way of traveling. No officer is supposed to come up to you and pull you over for failure to turn on your turn signal, even if the streets are empty. That's not, you didn't break the law. None of that is against the law. This is why they call these officers civil servants now. They went from peace officers to civil servants because their job is to keep the peace, not interfere with your rights, your inherent rights, your natural rights, your God given rights to freedom and happiness. Okay? Meaning they're not supposed to interfere with you unless something violent, someone has been robbed, some property has been damaged, unless any of those things have been committed. They're operating underneath the pretense that they took an oath, a constitutional oath. So then they're supposed to uphold the Constitution. All your governors took in constitutional oaths, and I'm not taking this talking about each state's constitution. I'm talking about to the supreme constitution that your forefathers of the United States Incorporated wrote and put out there for you. You complain that you have no money to pay your bills because God damn it, they just gave me a ticket for not for driving through the easy pass. I couldn't pay the toll. There's no law against that. There's no law against driving through that toll if you don't have any money to pay it, if you're operating in a non-commercial capacity. When I say non-commercial capacity, if you're operating in a commercial capacity, then you're doing business. But if you're not doing business, you don't have to pay no toll. This is why when you go to traffic court and you tell traffic court, yo, I want to talk to you. I want to take me to an Article 3 court right now. They have to assign you to a court. Traffic court has no jurisdiction over you unless you give it to them. As soon as you go in there, you just say to that magistrate, because that magistrate is not a judge, I want to go to Article 3 court. I want to go to trial. It stops right there. They're not supposed to say shit no more to you, but arrange for that to happen. Right? That's for you citizens. Now, if you're not a citizen and you have proclaimed your nationality, none of this goes for you. You're outside of that jurisdiction completely, unless you breach the peace, meaning you committed murder, you robbed someone, or you destroyed someone's property, you harmed someone. Okay? Now, if you're a national, you don't have to go through the legalities with this governor talk about shutting down your businesses for this time and so on and so. He has no authority over you. That means you don't play in their voting game. You don't vote. That has nothing to do with you. Now, the reason why now they trying to keep this race war going, right? Which is an illusion, is because in their oldest laws, it marks you not as African American, not as black. This is why it says no color in this 1866. It says, let's go back again. Civil Rights Act of 1866 declared all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without distinction of race or color or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. Now you know why even the islands don't have nothing about color on their identification cards. Now by this here, every time an officer call you black or white, that is defamation of character, and you can sue the shit out of him. Every time some agency puts you down as black on their docket, you could sue that agency on the person in charge of it. Okay? Every time the mayor use African American or black, the governor use those terms. The news reporters, you could sue them for defamation of character. You have all the weapons you need. You don't need to be in those streets marching and protesting, talking about defund the police, because you don't want military rule. Because when military rule comes in, these documents all go out the window. There's no more rule of law, but military law. Okay? And all you citizens will be effed in a major way. Because now all rights of the citizens is taken away. Not the national, the citizen. Now, while you've been marching and protesting, now here's what I got to touch on too, because when I mentioned the color thing, no color or race. The reason why that is because on their own documentations, it labeled you as Indians, and Indians, indigenous people, or indigene people are not to be relocated off of any of their lands. Okay? So this is why this is why the state and the Masonic Boule organizations of Prince Hall Masons relabeled you via the way of Jesse Jackson, African American. By the 70s, they were calling you black. You started going by black, right? Meaning that all these properties that all these Jews claim they own, they don't own it. If you went back to your original identity, you can go back and claim certain things or put in a suit for certain things, or lands, the 150 million acres that the Native Americans are sitting on, because more than half of them don't have no blood ties to here. You can put in a rightful claim for that. Why? Because they're not supposed to dislocate any of the indigenous peoples of the land. It says so in their documents. Which document? Go research. It's time for some of y'all to go research. That means, because if you don't understand what's happening here, these Jews claim that they own everything. We know there's a lot of Jews in politics now. But if you go in New York City, who claims ownership of majority of those buildings in New York and the land? The Jews do. They don't like you. They don't like you. They don't like what they call poor white people. They don't like what they call Hispanic people. They want you all out. So they'll do any and everything in any way, shape, form, or possible to come up with some reason, some excuse to kill the economy, to get your ass up out of there. That's relocating the Indian. But the indigenous person, is calling themselves black and African American. So they're not doing anything wrong. Because black and African American don't exist. So you're identifying as something that do not exist. So they treat you like shit politically. Then they get you to vote for the person that's effing you over every single time. You voted for Clinton. This is that's a spam call. Every time I'm getting a lot of these spam calls a lot lately. Even when I block these stuff. I had this block spam call thing, and they just bypass it now. And this came with the phone company, and I paid monthly for it. Anyway, so the fact is, every time, every single time you allow them to call you black and African American, you take away from your inherent right to the land. Plain and simple. The federal government put through provisions to protect you, and you went against it. Even when you started calling yourselves black, they put through provisions to still protect you. And god damn it, you still went against it. The Democratic Party was created to destroy you. They're worse than the Republican Party. Most Republicans don't like you because they think you're Democratic bootlickers. And every time they see you vote for a Democrat, they like, these people don't know that the Democrats don't want to see them exist. So they look down on you because when they talk about the Republic, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. Even that what you're calling that flag, the what you be calling the redneck flag, the Confederate flag. That's your flag. When I'm able to screen share, I'm going to put up a picture of the original version of the flag. But that's your flag. And they don't hide it. Your own ignorance shall be your downfall. And that's what they bank on that. Okay? Now I'm gonna reread this thing over and keep and absorb everything that I said and listen to what I'm going to reread over. I'm going to give y'all the link. I'm going to put the link in the chat in a few minutes, all right? And then listen to what I'm about to read again, and do your research and go put two and two together. Your pro-black community leaders were weapons used against you. That's it. Some known, some unknown. Because the unknown ones was just going off of what their master teachers taught them. And they were also programmed not to question their master teacher. That's a MK Ultra shit. So if you think MK Ultra is like it's just sitting in front of a TV or a machine where you're being hypnotized, no. It's when one person put their energy onto you and have you take on their energy and actions and way of thought. And you project it back onto the masses, preferably the younger ones because they're more impressionable to get to than an adult. So you groom the young ones from a baby stage coming on up, training their mind like you will do a puppy when you get a puppy. When you're calling a puppy, you're teaching that puppy how to come to you every time. So that puppy can take on the behavior that you want that puppy to take on when it becomes a dog. So now it's obedient every single time. Okay? Now let's reread this. And then we're going to go into that coronavirus bill that I found and show you something very interesting in it, and which is why nationality is very important. All right. Now here we go. Civil Rights Act of 1866. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 declared all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without distinction of race or color. Now, someone is going to say, but it's only talking about males. The female is always known as the nation. Okay. And so if the female marries the male and then takes on them, because back then males were taking on their women's last names. The taking on of the male last name is something recent. Now females take on the male's last name, which also locks you now into a state of citizenship. You see how that works? You see how that works? But they'll turn it into something feminist. Oh, they don't want to. No, it's all everything. It's all a distraction, people. Everything is all a distraction. Civil Rights Act of 1866. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 declared all male persons born in the United States to be citizens without distinction of race or color, or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. Although President Andrew Johnson vetoed the legislation, the veto was overturned by the 39th States Congress and the bill became law. So here's this Democratic president that was vetoing it. Why? Because it was too powerful. It made sure that you weren't targeted because of race or color. Okay? So when you were facing abuses, when your grandparents was facing certain abuses, it was coming down from the state level. Now, when the federal or the FBI will come down and investigate, a lot of our people started becoming quiet because they were fearful, right? And then if one of them did come forward and not enough came forward, so that one that came forward, everybody knows who did it. So it travels through the town and they kill him. Why? Because you knew your state officials were corrupted. Your state officials was working with the sheriff and the chief of police, and they were ordering their men to f you up. Anyway, be citizens without distinction of race or color or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. Although President Andrew Johnson vetoed the legislation, the veto was overturned by the 39th United States Congress and the bill became law. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was the nation's first civil rights law. Now, when King said that he marches people to a burning house, it was because the Civil Rights Act that King marched for, even though he was marching for the rights of Indians, that civil rights went towards the entire homosexual community, everybody and their mother that felt like they had an issue. They used that Civil Rights Act, right? And it got turned into something it wasn't supposed to be used for, and was used to further lock in the Negro into political affiliations of citizenship. Okay, when King was trying to get out of the citizenship thing, not be go further in. It was that civil rights that King passed that gave Caucasian females the rights that they have now today. That's a fact. The Negro female always had her natural born rights because you were looked on as the nation. You were still that Indian woman. Your name was still being taken on by your husband. And if so, folks are doing their genealogy, you'll come across a lot of that. A lot of that. All right, so he vetoed the legislation. That veto was overturned by the 39th state United States Congress, and the bill became law. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was the nation's first civil rights. Then they're going to give you the background for those who are joining, right? Yeah, feminism is a weapon. It was used to segregate the Aboriginal or indigenous male and female from each other from the home. President Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Abraham Lincoln, see why the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, why he was assassinated, and Abraham was what, a Republican, who succeeded Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, oh, okay. President Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Abraham Lincoln upon his assassination in 1865, favored a lenient approach to Reconstruction in the wake of the Civil War. In order to re enter the Union, former Confederate states were required to maintain abolition, swear loyalty to the United States, and pay their war debts. few additional restrictions were put in place, which enabled the southern states to adopt and enact a series of so called black codes. That's when the state started making all sorts of laws that restricted the movements of Negroes. And here you are today calling yourself black. That's why your movement, you are restricted. You cursed yourself by continuing the stigma that the states put on you. Period. And here you are trying to get folks now in the other portions of the Americas and the other parts of the world to identify as black. The ignorance in you, the audacity of you. Like I said, the islands, Jamaica got their census coming up next year. And already they making hip hop songs and all of that in Jamaica and other songs talk about black and black power, black, black, black. So you know they're about to drop some phony ass identity on that census to try to convince those people to click that shit. And when you check that box, you gave up your land and your nationality. And then that gives way for the corporation, for the corrupted government to expand the corporation into areas that it wasn't even supposed to be expanded into. Now, because all cities are originally colonies, and every time they build a city, they're actually building a colony. And if you go back to the 1620 New England Charter, it will tell you that the colonies were originally built for the colonial colonizing forces to have jobs, to be able to work. And you, the Indians, were the ones that were supposed to be receiving these taxes, right? And the crown king, they borrowed the money from the crown, the colonial forces that came here. And they were supposed to be paying you taxes from everything that all the profits that they were making from these plantations. Okay. And in the same time, they were supposed to also be paying back the crown. But because they couldn't pay back the crown laid claim. Because you couldn't pay back the crown laid claim to all the corporations that was under the states, all to the folks that came and started these corporations. So now the crown owns the corporations. But all of this is just on paper. I need folks to understand, folks who are operating as citizens. Okay. And I need the Negroes to more so understand because the Caucasian folks pretty much already get it because they know their history. Some like to pretend that they don't know because it's as dirty as ours. And they don't want to admit that they peoples were slaves. I ain't talking about this fictional ass being a slave in Egypt over there type of shit. Okay. So because they didn't pay back the crown laid claim of all the colonies, which are plantations. So every time they build a plantation, which you now call city, a city is a plantation, a city is a colony. That expands the territory of the crown on paper. But these clause, these laws, these documents were put in place to say that, to let you know that you cannot be relocated as the original people of this land. This is why they worked so hard on the state level to get you to stop identifying as to whom you are. This is why their eyes are so focused in on Chicago, because a lot of the houses, a lot of the infrastructure in Chicago is still underneath an Indian identity. Because remember, Chicago was founded by Haitians. Haitians are Arawaks. Why is that important? Haiti maintains its sovereignty still to this very day. This is why they orchestrate so many corrupted officials to be president and prime minister of Haiti, to sell out the people. Why is this important? Because the Haitians runs the natural inheritance of the entire islands, even the Dominican Republic side, is the Haitians. But because folks here on the mainland stop identifying with nationality, and because you allowed folks on certain levels of government to cut you off from connecting back with each other. Now they tell you to stay 6 feet apart. They already cut you off from the island folks and cut you off from the folks in South America. Now they're telling you to stay 6 feet apart, right? You've weakened the natural defenses that you once had to keep these people out of your affairs because you insisted to be in theirs. That's why nationality is important. Clauses were put in place if you still decided you want to identify as citizen of the corporate crown. Clauses were put in place that you were to be protected. But your state officials are greedy and violated it every single time. And in the 1866 Civil Rights Act, it says you have the right to personal liberty and personal security, meaning your gun, your arm, your fists, your words, or your personal security, your home. Okay? So if you're going to play citizen, know how to properly play it. So when New York is telling you, oh, we have strict gun laws, they have no gun laws. They just needed to disarm you so they could kick your face in with the police department. Period. Am I saying there should be responsibilities when it comes to guns? Yes, they should. But if a man commits a crime with a gun unjustly and he's arrested, then he's off the streets. People will get the fact that, hey, you're locking people up here that are doing unjust things, wrong things with their weapons other than self defense, other than protection. Okay? As long as those things are being enforced, there's no problem. Let's keep going through this. It's important that y'all wake up because you have at least 4 months by their time, 4 to 6 months to get y'all shit together, to know these stuff. All right. All right. So it says President Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Abraham Lincoln upon his assassination in April 1865, favored a lenient approach and Reconstruction in the wake of the Civil War. In order to re enter the Union, former Confederate states were required to maintain abolition, swear loyalty to the United States, and pay their war debts. Why? Because the crown owns the United States Incorporated. So this is why they were supposed to pay their war debts to the United States Incorporated, which will also be known as the federal government. Okay. Few additional restrictions were put in place which enabled the southern state to adopt and enact a series of so called black codes. These laws were designed to restrict freed blacks' activity and ensure their availability as a labor force. Although these codes permitted certain liberties, they largely denied black citizens equal protection under the law. Notably, these codes restricted property, contract, and labor rights for black citizens. Republican lawmakers in the United States Congress who believed the federal government had a role in shaping a multiracial society in the post war South opposed Johnson's plan for Reconstruction and sought a different approach. Now, Reconstruction is what they call urban renewal, okay? Meaning they were pushing you out to pull in a different look of people. Legislative history. Senator Lyman Trumbull Republican of Illinois, or Rep of Illinois, I think it's a Republican, introduced the bill in the United States Senate on January 5th, 1866. On February 2nd, 1866, the Senate voted to approve the bill 33 to 12. On March 13th, lucky number, 1866, the United States House of Representatives approved the legislation by a vote of 111 to 38. You see how huge that margin is? With 34 members not voting. Representative William Lawrence, Rep of Ohio, or Republican of Ohio, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, said the following in support of the act: there are certain obsolete rights which pertain to every citizen, which are inherent and of which a state cannot constitutionally deprive him. But not only are those rights inherent and indestructible, but the means whereby they may be possessed and enjoyed are equally so. Every citizen, therefore, has the absolute right to live, the right of personal security, personal liberty, and the right to acquire and enjoy property. These are rights of citizenship. As necessary incidents of these rights, there are others, as the right to make and enforce contracts, to purchase, hold, and enjoy property, and to share the benefit of laws for the security of person and property. And then it's going to go on to talk about real and personal property. Okay? Real and personal property will be your physical body, you, yourself, and I. Okay? Me and myself and I. All right? Real property will be the land. Okay? Real property is your house. Your house is real. You built it. It's there. It's standing. It's real. Okay? Fictions, the all capital name. Fictions, that black identity. Fiction, that African American identity. Are those facts? No, those are fiction. Your child, yes. Thank you, all Aboriginal Gem Finder. Your child is also real property, which, when your child is brought in this world, you are supposed to lay claim to your child so that your child is not a part of the jurisdiction of any states, so that no governor, no mayor can tell you, we're going to come knock on your door to come test your child and vaccinate your child. They can't do it because your child is not their property. Because when you call yourself a citizen, you are also considered to be state property. That's why provisions was put in place to protect you so that the state don't take advantage of you. But you don't know about those. And instead of you're being taught about those, you're taught to go out and protest and complain, loot and riot, complain, loot, riot, complain, loot, riot, complain. Now let me go on to this that I found. Oh, let me give you guys the link to the article that I was just reading. Let me give you all a link. Give me a second here. Let me go take it down. All right, give me a sec. About to give you all a link right now. About to pull it up. Hold on. Ah, come on. Channel. There we go. Okay, so here's the link. It might be long, but that's what came up. That's it right there. That's the link. That's the link to that article. All right. Um, I'm gonna put it at the top of the chat also right now. I didn't even know I could do this while I'm doing the live. Okay. What just in here? All right. So what they did, they cut my live stream so that they could disable my chat. Right. Because anytime I put the link in the chat, they disable it in my live stream. That's what they've been doing now. So they're trying to censor you from having the link. But anyway, the link is in my comment section. All right. I put the link in the comment section. So when you go over to the comment section, it should be there. Let's see. Now, if you guys can hear me, just press one. Press one if you guys can hear me. Can you? Link is pinned into my comment section. Okay, good. You guys can hear me. They cut my chat. So when I'm looking at the chat on my laptop, there's no chat. They cut it. They cut the whole chat. So this is what they've been doing, and they've been purposely doing it. But anyway, I already put in my complaint um after Trump had signed the thing on them. So I already put in my stuff, and I have some more stuff that I got to put in with them. So all good things come to those who wait. Keep going. And they stopped the timer. They be stopping the timer also for my live stream. So it was just stuck on 123.25 for like a good 10 seconds. Didn't even move. All right. So when they do that, they're freezing the clock because they're tampering with the numbers. All right. Fair business practice. All right. So let's read the article. The what I found on the Library of Congress. All right. So I'm going to put this link too into the chat. You guys will still see it when I put into the chat. So even though they claim they dislocated the chat, those assholes did not. I can still post my links in the chat, and you guys will see it. And that link too, I'm going to put in the comments in the pin it in the top of the comment section. All right. So there we go. This is the summary to the Library of Congress on bill. Okay. Yeah, they mess with my stuff hardcore, even on my phone now. All right, let me restart it. Had to restart it. Okay, so if you received the link that I just also posted, press one. If you received that link that I just posted, okay. Okay. And that's true, Q. They have to prove it with what's ink signature docs, meaning they have to handwrite that shit out, and not that stamp signature where they made a stamp of their signature and they stamp it on a document. You can tell they stamp it because it's never on the line. It's always there off the goddamn line, right? And you can line it up with other signatures, and it's the same length, same width, same everything. So you know it's a stamped signature. That's also another thing to look out for. Many different ways of their fraud. Anyway, let's pull up the article. So this is the Library of Congress. So this is the government's library. So they can't say that this is a lie. All right. This is why nationality is important more than citizenship. Pay attention. Show here introduced in Senate 0504 2020. while you were out protesting. Justice for Victims of Coronavirus Act. They gave you a way to lock these governors and mayors up for everything that they're doing right now. Pay attention. Pay attention. Because I'm going to read through this bill later on, but this is a summary of it. This bill establishes various bodies to investigate and seek damages from China relating to this response to the COVID-19, i.e., coronavirus disease 2019. Now, the Chinese leaders aren't on United States or what they would call American soil, right? They're not here, so you can't sue them. And even if they do sue them via through the way of the United States, they ain't going to pay nothing because you'd have to go to China to go collect that money. Right, but here, this is what's important. Let's read it. This bill establishes various bodies to investigate and seek damages from China relating to its response to the COVID-19, i.e., coronavirus disease 2019. You hear that? I.e., coronavirus disease 2019. So where did the 2020 disease come from? This is the Library of Congress. This is why Trump says what he says and acts what he acts when it comes to this, because he already knows it's fake. Okay? The bill also allows a foreign government to be sued in U.S. District Court regarding the government actions related to the COVID-19 outbreak. Pay attention. A foreign government shall not have sovereign immunity against a lawsuit in the United States seeking money, damages, or physical or economic injury occurring in the United States following any reckless action or omission of that foreign government. Now, they're not speaking about China right there. They're just speaking about foreigners across the board. Okay? And then it says in parentheses, or any official or agent of that government. Your mayors and your governors are officials, they're agents of the state. Okay? That caused or substantia, god damn it, I'm rushing it. That caused or substantially aggravated the COVID-19 outbreak in the United States. The president shall establish a task force to investigate and secure damages from China's government related to China's response to the COVID-19 outbreak. The Department of State shall form a delegation to the International Commission to investigate the role of the government of the People's Republic of China in the COVID-19 global pandemic. The delegation shall form the commission with U.S. allies and partners. The assistance to the President for National Security Affairs shall establish 1. The Interagency Working Group to quantify harm caused by the government of the People's Republic of China, and 2. The Interagency Working Group to secure damages from the government of the People's Republic of China. Now, why did I read this? It has one thing and one thing alone that is important in here. All right. Everything else about China, that's what's up. But this right here, where it says a foreign government shall not have sovereign immunity against lawsuits in the United States seeking money, damages, or physical or economic injury occurring to the United States. When you proclaim, see, they're kicking people out the live now. They're kicking people out the live now. Now, when you proclaim your nationality, your rightful nationality, as indigenous Americans in the Americas. All states become foreign to you, and they are now a foreign entity on your soil, operating on your soil. Okay? So they are foreign. So the agents of said state are open to lawsuits by you. Okay? So when your governor tells you it's mandatory, you have to wear that mask, he's violating every single law there is that protects you against that unlawful order. When your mayor is in the officers to go up in the communities and beat fire out of your children for not wearing a mask, they are violating all laws that to keep the state in check. But when you are sovereign, when you are separate from the state, when the state has become foreign to you, when you have proclaimed to be man on the land or to be indigenous Americans to this land, the state and all its officials are foreign to you and is open to be sued via the way of this coronavirus act. God damn it, you can sue the mayor in their personal capacity. You can sue the governor in his personal capacity. Like I said, you saw me play the video, even though they started interfering with it. I played the recording then of Cuomo telling you that the hospitals fluffed the numbers of people that died of COVID-19. And here's this act, call it coronavirus 2019, meaning it's something that happened last year. Knowing what you know now, are you going to continue wearing that mask? Knowing that you have all these laws that protect you against these draconian, fake ass rulers. You put these people in their position. You could take them out. You could vote them out of their position. You know you could overthrow your governor and your mayor and put someone else in that seat, like right now. And you could push through that petition you've sent. If you're going to do a petition, because you're supposed to have a certain amount of signatures. Find out the amount of signatures you need to overthrow your governor and your mayor. You send that through to their offices, the governor's offices, the mayor's offices, the attorney general, the state attorney general, and they send it through to the federal level. And if they don't want to leave, it is the federal level's job to come and remove them from their seat. Now, if you proclaimed your nationality and every Indian was every Indian who are now identifying as African American and black had stayed with their nationality or went back to their nationality, now you're looking at crimes against humanity, indigenous people. Now it's on an international level for the international courts to deal with. Wake up. I'm not making this up. It's right here in front of you. You just have to know where to look. They're tampering with the audio. All right. If they're tampering with the audio, I'll reread it back over again. And I'll keep doing it over and over and over again. Or what they're doing is they are delaying the audio. So when I speak and you hear me say one word, there's a pause before you hear the other word. So then, what you should do is just be patient. And even though you hear like how I'm talking now, I did that purposely, right? If you hear it coming out like this, just be patient and just continue to listen, and it will all make sense. Just ignore the little gaps that they're trying to put out there. Okay, it's fine. All right, no problem then. Okay, then it's cool. So yeah, that means it's certain locations they're messing with the audio. All right. So if these things are put in place for you, if you want to play in their political arena, know how to play. If you don't want to play in their political arena, you proclaim your nationality and get the hell out. But as long as you identify as Indian and not none of their corporate construct, they can't relocate you. Okay? And this is another reason why they popularized the religious community into your communities. All right? Just have an understanding of what's happening in front of you guys. Know what's out there. Okay? When I learned that when he says something is fake, when it comes to certain things, chances are the shit is fake. Because people say, well, you see him, he fell and he bust his head. I could show you an 80-year-old white lady right now that still does stunts for movies where her job is to take falls. And it looks real. Look at them. Remember them old female wrestlers that was doing with them two old ladies, man, that was wrestling in the WWF like a few years back. Marla and Maple, something like that. And look, dudes just jumping off the high ropes on them, and they were taking those falls. So none of this stuff, like I'm telling you, none of this stuff is real. It's fake. Actors. It's fake. You have things called blood packets where they can make it pop and burst on the point of contact of something, and it looks like the person busted their head open. They're not taking your rights away. They have you giving your rights away because they're using the fear card on you. And when the fear card don't work, they use that intimidation card on you. They use fear by mass shootings or terroristic attacks, but they're the ones orchestrating those events so that they can continue to throw down draconian laws on you and shorten and gut your constitutions, your constitution. Okay? Gut natural law. So they got you giving your rights away. Every time you keep your mouth shut, you acquiesce to what's going on. Plain and simple. Now with this link, when the live uploads, I'm going to paste this link, right? For the other link I paste through my cell phone. This one, if I get off this screen, it's going to cut the live. So I'll paste the link to this Library of Congress bill. Okay. But I can read it out to you guys. It's called S 3588 hyphen 116 Congress. It says 2019 to 2020 to show you they put this shit so fake. So the coronavirus, this bill is for coronavirus disease 2019 for in 2019. So, okay. So this year they introduced the bill, right? In 2020. That's why it has 2019 to 2020. It's not getting past this stuff, people. That's why I took down the last live that I did because I went out of character. I should never did that. Even how I started it off. So I came back and said, let me come back and educate and break down some things, and give an interpretation, and then give you the information to go research and do your own and make your own interpretation, right? But yeah, so nationality is very important. This is why I say I am an Ahuak, Arawak American, because my ancestors manifested in the Americas. My ancestors came from the Great Spirit in the Americas. That is it. I have been here many times before, and I am still here. Okay, and I am still here. So I am proof that we have not went extinct. You are proof that you have not gone extinct. They have the documentations too, but your word is bond. Period. That is universal law. Get that SF 181 form out of here. That SF 181 form is a trap. We don't promote that here. Don't do that. Don't do it. Get it out of here. That is not how you proclaim your nationality. And whoever showed you that need to be put on the spot and put in front of a military squad. Remove that. I just said your word is your bond, right? That SF 181 form is for government officials only. Government. Do you work for the United States government? No. That's why Nanya El Shabu, or whatever his name is, got deported using that shit back to Canada. Oh, you was asking. Oh, I'm sorry, Sonny. My bad. Nah, don't use that form. That's entrapment. Okay. Like I said, man, this on our brother American Airwax channel, he drops a lot of information. He has a lot of information on that channel, a lot of videos that he uploaded that breaks this stuff down in its most simplest form. All right. So that's it. There's no special form. It's not a let me go get this form and proclaim my nationality. It's your word. You write down who you are and you send it into these. It's really that. You send it into these people. No man can tell you who you are. You see what I'm saying? No man can tell you that you're not that unless they are from that same ancestry. Okay? So, there are platforms that breaks down the information that shows you takes you to the places that will show you how to write these things down. But it's pretty much your word, man. Pretty much your word. But like I said, yeah, I could if American Airwax is still in here, he could drop his link to his platform, and y'all could subscribe to his platform and check out his videos that he has. Okay, he has a lot of videos that drops a lot of information that breaks down, this stuff in its simplest form. Let me get the link to our brother's channel. See if I can get it. Why they won't let me go over to his channel? What? What is going on here? Oh, they won't let me go over to his channel. It keeps bringing me back here. All right, I'll put the link to his channel. Or if anyone has a link to his channel, just drop the link to his channel in the chat for me, please. All right, all right. Thank you, Aboriginal Jump Finder. All right. And then I'll also upload it when the live is done, along with the coronavirus act, 2019-2020 act. And I'll upload those links in the top of the comment section and in the description box for you guys. All right. So to folks, when you're if you're looking for the links will always be in the description box in the top, and it'll always be pinned in the comment section. So if you scroll through the comment section, you'll see the links that I paste. Okay, so it's not that they're not there; they're there. You just have to look through the comment section, or just go right underneath the description, and you'll see the links, all the links. Okay, some links I could post while I'm live, right? Some links I can't. I have to wait till the video uploads. The live is finished processing and uploads fully, and then I can put the links in the comment section and the description box for y'all. Okay. So yeah. All right. So Aboriginal Gem Finder just put the link to American Airwax platform. So y'all can subscribe over to the brother's platform. Check out the information that he has. He has a lot of information on that platform. It simplifies a lot of things. You know, his videos aren't long; they're like 10 to 20 minutes, and it's simplicity simplifies it. Okay, because I know some of us can't watch hour 2 hour long videos, so he shortens it up for you guys. All right, and then you have the sources of where you could go get the information from that he drops. So it's there. It's for you now just to do the footwork, right? Okay, no problem, Sonny. No problem. Okay, so yeah, like the information is out there, family. It's not really hidden from you. It's just that you know President Bush says put it in a book and black people won't read it, and he wasn't lying. Most of our people that now identify as black and African American, they won't read it. Won't read it. Won't go looking for it. It's too much work for them, and that's because they've been cultivated to have a lazy mindset, a low energy mindset, low vibrating mindset. So it's up to us who have platforms. We have that responsibility of dropping information out there that can raise back the vibration of the people. Okay, we help out in any way we can. Right, even though we are non-belligerent, non-combative at the same time, but it doesn't mean that we can't drop information. I do reserve the right to self-defense, though. Most definitely reserve my freedoms. But all right, so other from that, y'all, that was it. I'm about to get up out of here. Post everything else. Also don't forget to check out the Teespring store, y'all. Right, I got some merchandise on there as well. I got three new T-shirts that I did put up on there. I'll put the link to the Teespring store also in the chat and in the description box as well. And I just thank you guys for being here today, and just spread the word, man. Spread this information out there. If you also, I'm going to put the master file to the coronavirus in the description box in the top of the chat. Matter of fact, Average Gem Find, if you also have that, could you just drop it in the chat also? I'll wait 2 more minutes so that it could be dropped in the chat and people could get it. All right. So that will be the master file to the coronavirus, y'all. And when you click on that file, it's a doozy. It has the entire history. Okay, so you'll see that Judy Mikovich and Rashid Buttar wasn't lying, and that Dr. Fauci and your governors have been lying to you all this time. That's the file. That's the exact file. So all of it. Okay, that's the exact files. And I say share it. If you have doctor friends, nurse friends, share it with them because some of them don't know this information. And this is why this thing is also prolonging. Because if you pay attention to what's happening in the world, they needed the doctors to say to give the okay to lift the restrictions off the supposed business shutdowns and the shutdowns of the economy. The doctors had to say, okay, it's clear now. This is why these other countries' doctors are like, no, we're not getting that vaccine. We ain't taking that. We got hydrochloroquine. We have these things here. No. Now that we know that this is shit is fake, no. And they've reopened back their economy right away. Why are they oppressing it here? Why are they picking and choosing which places to open and not to open? Because now they're trying to make it look like it's a racial disparity thing. Okay? That's why. When the brother in Illinois was shot, the business owner, and the chief of police was like, the question is, why were the officers going over there in the first place? Exactly why. The man is in his business. He's minding his business. He's in a store. He wasn't outside on the streets protesting or nothing. He was feeding his customers. Why were you going over there? Because of the unlawful order by the governor. These officers was going around shutting down businesses that had all right to be open, even businesses that was following the guidelines to being open. 20 people, 6 to 10 or 20 people, and they were still going around shutting them down. They're policy officers. So you have plenty of things put in place to protect you from these folks. You're just not using them. That's the problem. So there you go. That's the head link to the coronavirus files. All right, it's thousands of pages, people. All right, it's about a couple hundred files. Okay, with thousands of pages. All right, so and I implore everyone to download every single one. If you have an external hard drive, download them on your external hard drive and print them off whenever you can, because that's the proof, that's the evidence that this shit has been fake. Like I said, this not only affected citizens, it affected folks that did proclaim their nationality, because you fell for also this coronavirus hoax and was wearing a mask all day, every day too, as well. Don't lie. I saw some of y'all. I know some of y'all. Don't do it. That is emotional stress, mental damage to think that every time you go outside, you're breathing in this virus that could kill you immediately in 2 weeks' time. They stressed you out so that you could destroy your immune system, so that when fall comes around, which is another sick part of the sick season, you automatically become sick, and then they can say coronavirus, COVID-19, and kill you in the hospitals for that extra $39,000 a body. Wake up. The stuff is fake. Governor Cuomo says it lasts in the air for 3 hours. So then you went outside, right? So that means every time you go outside, you're gonna have to come in and take a shower. Every single time. Right? That's what he's saying. So that means his aides, when they go outside to go buy lunch and they come back into the office, huh? They gotta wait outside 3 hours or wait in a room for 3 hours for it to air out, for it to die off of them, because they was outside. It's on their skin, it's on their clothing, it's on their mask, it's on their glasses, in their hair. It's everywhere because it lasts in the air for 3 hours. So it's everywhere. Hmm? You see what they're saying don't make no sense? And they know it. Common sense, people. Common sense. Wake up. Wake up. Way up. All right. All right. So, okay. So now, since Aberrant Gemfinder dropped the link in the chat, I could copy it from the chat, and I'm going to post it now in the top of the comment section. Okay, for you guys, which is the coronavirus link, and then the other link to the 1866, I'll post afterwards. Okay. What is this? Wait, wait. Let me post this link now. I'm posting it now in the top of the chat. The link, all right. I'll label it Corona file. Okay. Wait, it's not saving. Hold on, I gotta go back to it. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it afterwards. But just you guys stay safe, y'all. All right. I'm gonna get up out of here now. I say, peace, love, light to you all. Stay safe. Travel safe. If you're out there on that road, man, that highway, the highways and byways, you know, and just know your rights. Know your rights. Know your rights. Know it. Know your laws. All right. You're not operating off of privileges. When you hear your government uses words like privilege, you don't want privileges. You want your creator given rights. That's what you want. Nothing else, nothing more. But your creator given rights. Okay? Which is your natural rights. All right? Okay, I got the link. Here we go. All right. Wasn't going to stop until I got it. All right, so here, I'm going to post it now on the top of the chat. All right. So I'm going to put it in the chat with with the article for the 1866, right? And then so this is the 1866 article, right? And now down below it, you will see the Corona file, which I'll post right now. Okay, got it. And then when this uploads, I'll put the Library of Congress link to the Corona Act. All right. But if you go into the top of the chat now, you'll see the other two links pinned up there. All right. And I'll also be putting the link to the Teespring store also as well. When I get off of here, which I'm about to get off of here now. Copy this. Get out of this. All right, y'all. So, like I said, travel safe, stay safe, right? And best wishes to you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, afternoon, depending on whatever time zone it is that you are in. And I say thank you to all of you that came out today and joined me today. Thank you all.